Okay, here's a really good one. What do I do when she freaks out? What do I do when she freaks out? What do I do when she gets so angry or so tearful or so upset that I feel immobilized, overwhelmed? What do I do? Okay, give me a second here to walk you through something. The short answer is you're going to take a deep breath, you're going to ground yourself, you're going to feel into what's happening for her, because that's going to tell you something about yourself that you don't even know. So she's always operating as your oracle. She's always giving you information that most of the time we as men have no idea what to do with. And especially when she's really upset, really. What you're doing is basically holding space for everything that comes from her and giving yourself the space, holding space for yourself to just let it sink in. There's nothing you need to do except for confidently hold space. Now, how you do that, I mean that's why guys work with me. That's why guys work with John Wineland. That's why guys work with lots of the great coaches that are out there. Just basically learn some stuff to do with your breath, your posture, how you stand, how you know yourself, so that you can stand there in the storm, in her storm, and appreciate it and learn from it. Because that's why she's there. That's why she's doing this stuff. She's not doing this stuff because she hates you, because she wants nothing to do with you. She's giving you all this overwhelming flood of information because at some level she thinks you're worthy of it. I know that's kind of weird when you feel like you're being attacked, but just trust that. Now I'm going to read something here that has to do with this, and I'll talk about it in a second, okay? So this is from a recent post by Guru Singh and Guru Prakarmakar. These are a couple of teachers that I learn a lot from. So this is a post about natural time. And it's something that we as masculine identified men are disconnected from. And we can see that just in what's happening with the planet, etc., etc. So here's the quote. The basic reality of atoms, of subatomic particles, the basic reality of what makes up everything has a fluidity that's continuous and fabric-like and unrecognizable to your senses, perceptions. This fluidity runs through matter without the slightest hint of perception or measure. In other words, there's an unfathomable world contained inside the dimensions your senses perceive. Now think about that. She's freaking out, and all you can do is see, all you can take in is just the noise of her voice, or you can see her tears or her agitation, but there's stuff that you can't even imagine is going on. So just consider that. And here's the quote again. Only higher math currently explores these realms to understand their activities. But there's also a higher math in your meditative mind that experiences this information when properly trained. So if you ever do any work with a coach, you will be you'll be helped to basically develop a calmer mind, a meditative mind that can actually appreciate more of what's going on and what's being given to you. When you're able to understand inside these immeasurable realms, your brain mind, and Guru Singh is really good about talking about that we have basically three major minds or brains. So the one is the head brain that most of us are familiar with. Then there's the heart brain and the gut brain. And I'm not going to get into the details about that, but basically when you work with the masculine and feminine, you're working to operate from the three brains working together rather than just your head brain. And that's going to give you a big help when dealing with the flood of information that comes from the feminine. So again, when you're able to understand inside these immeasurable realms that are part of your everyday experience that you can't see, your brain mind begins to operate in a kind of timelessness. Now this contradicts the false limits that humanity has placed on life, the false timings that actually confound the intuitive brain. So that's what we're going to be working on. That's what we want to work on, is that intuitive brain that takes your gut, your heart, and your head all together. This timelessness follows more natural timings, far healthier to life. The sun has years, seasons, night and day. The moon has 13 cycles within each year of the sun. When you live with this natural rhythm, your three brains, your gut, your heart, your head, they begin to perceive the unseen opportunities inside what the senses see. So again, you've got a feminine being, most likely a feminine identified woman, who is feeling a lot of stuff and expressing a lot of stuff to you, laying this out for you. And it's like an overwhelm. And what do you do with that? As I said, the first thing you do is you take a deep breath. Take 3 deep breaths. You ground, and if you work with a coach, they'll help you ground, become more stable, to actually take that stuff in, all that stuff that she's giving you, all these gifts she's giving you, and you start to incorporate that in a way that basically is beyond language and beyond what our head brain can do. There's a beautiful book called The Lives of Children that's really helped me. It certainly is in child rearing, but now as I do this work, it helps me there too. There's a concept that the writer talks about when working with children, and I would say when working with any feminine experience, or any experience of the feminine. So that could be a woman, that could be a man who's really in his feminine, because we'll go into our feminine. In fact, your feeling of overwhelm is your own feminine just responding. When we experience the feminine, either within ourselves or outside of ourselves, and especially in children, we need to lose time. So again, this idea of timelessness. Rather than trying to solve the problem quickly or trying to be efficient, we need to relax, feel into the experience, let go of time being a factor. And somehow, and it's not, I mean, it is a kind of magic, but it's the magic of this heart, gut, and head brain working together. You'll see and you'll feel and you'll know what the moment requires. So again, what do you do when she's freaking out? You learn what you've practiced, and you thank her for this incredible gift. I mean, you don't just do that right away, but eventually you'll come to thank all these things that are overwhelming as what shows you how to be more of who you really are, this beautiful man that is able to love and able to hold space and be this incredibly powerful presence for all of those around you. And I'm just going to add this, that if we go back to this idea of natural timings, it's pretty easy for us as masculine identified men in men's bodies to be disconnected from natural time. It's much harder for women to be disconnected from that, women who are in women's bodies. They have a cycle that they experience basically every 28 days. So if you're with a woman who is still experiencing her menstrual cycles, her moon cycles, start paying attention to that. Notice not just how she behaves, but notice what kind of gifts she gives you and how they change through those 28 days. Just by paying attention to her cycle, you will start to tune into a more natural cycle of living, and that's going to help you ground, be more conscious, and that's good for dealing with these feelings of overwhelm that you get when, as we like to say, she starts freaking out, or when she's she might call it a hot mess. Those times when it just feels like she's too much. Start paying attention to her cycles, not as a way to manage her or to manage yourself, but as a way to start feeling into and intuitively knowing what else is going on around you and in your lives. And that's one of the keys to, the kind of leadership that your relationship needs. It's for you to be paying attention.